Ahoy hoy Springfieldians, and welcome to the Treehouse of Horror month to celebrate Halloween. You know, even for a cartoon, The Simpsons can be intensely violent and gruesome, with each Treehouse of Horror episode finding new and inventive ways to butcher your favourite characters, and that's why we look forward to them every single year. So, in the spirit of Halloween, I thought why not count every single on-screen death in the Treehouse specials? Why? Well, because I'm kind of sad like that. But as there are so many gruesome kills throughout the 30 Treehouse specials, I've decided to split these up into multiple parts. Otherwise, this video will be way too long. I was inspired to make this video after watching TheRealJims' excellent Treehouse of Death. In the video, he counts down the characters that are killed the most throughout the series. So who better to help me out with the sadistic list than the man himself? Ladies and gentlemen, TheRealJims.
Hey everyone, I'm TheRealJims. Before we begin, we gotta go over the ground rules first. For these videos, we're only counting deaths we see on screen, whether they are explicitly mentioned or heavily implied. I won't be including animal deaths, sorry Fluffy, but I will be including anthropomorphic animals like Itchy and Scratchy. All sentient objects, like vengeful advertising mascots or talking houses, are counted. And I'll be including dream sequences and couch gags. Because of this kill count may be very different than other Treehouse of Horror kill counts online. So let's not waste any more time and jump into the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror death count 1 through 10.
If you are new to the channel and would like to keep up to date with all things The Simpsons, then hit that subscribe button and give this video a huge thumbs up. Treehouse of Horror 1. The first segment is an Amityville horror parody called Bad Dream House. When the Simpsons move into a creepy new house, they become possessed and grow violent tendencies. And it looks like we're about to have our very first kill, when Homer, Bart, Lisa and Maggie are about to murder one another. Luckily, Marge is the voice of reason and snaps them out of their homicidal state. Marge tells the house that they are living there and it has to play nice. And debating whether to live with the Simpsons or commit suicide, it decides that the latter is far more preferable, and it implodes into nothingness. So, the very first death in the Treehouse of Horror was a house.
You can't help but feel a little rejected.
The final death is off-screen in The Raven, a retelling of the classic poem by Edgar Allan Poe. In the story, Homer reads a book to forget about his lost lover, Lenore. She doesn't die on screen, but as it's pretty much stated that she is dead, I'm counting it. The early horror specials relied more on atmosphere and tension, rather than straight bloody murder to tell their stories.
Treehouse of Horror 2. In the segment, If Only I Had a Brain, the creators dip their toes into the pool that is blood, guts, and gore by killing their main characters, and they soon get a taste for it. After Homer is fired from his job for sleeping, he becomes a gravedigger. And what does he do in his new job? Sleep, of course. While out looking for a brain to use for their robot, Smithers and Burns finds a sleeping Homer in a grave. They take him home in order to remove his brain and place it in the robot. After the robot turns out to be just as lazy as Homer, they put the brain back from where it came from. However, after they remove the brain, the robot falls on top of Mr. Burns, crushing his body. And while both Homer and Mr. Burns are later revived, they still technically died. The concept behind Frankenstein was that the title character could bring the dead back to life, after all, so the count still stands.
Treehouse of Horror 3. Now, it seems that some things must have been going on in the makers' lives in 1992, as this is when the kill count really starts to shoot up. In King Homer, a parody of King Kong, Marge joins Mr. Burns and Smithers on an expedition to Ape Island to find the legendary King Homer. While trying to take down the big ape, he quickly gobbles up poor Lenny.
Oh no, not Lenny! Not Lenny!
Waylon finally manages to sedate him, but not before being eaten himself. After being taken to New York, next up on the menu is Little Shirley Temple. Fun fact, when Temple was asked to voice herself in the season 11 episode Last Tap Dance in Springfield, she told the producers in no uncertain terms to f*** off. Perhaps she still had hard feelings about being eaten alive. After the photographer's flashes anger King Homer, he breaks free from his shackles and stamps on a photographer. The last person to be murdered in this segment was Marge's father, Clancy Bouvier. The next segment in Treehouse 3 is Dial Z for Zombies. When Bart finds a mysterious book in the library in the occult section, he naturally resurrects the dead. And here, I'm only going to count the zombie characters we recognise as kills. Upon waking, zombies go looking for their first meal, and let's face it, roaming around the streets of Springfield, Neddy may not be your first pick, but it seems like he's an easy target and gladly lets the undead into his house. And they reward his hospitality by eating him. Zombie Flanders is later shot by Homer, but I'm only counting this as one kill. And many of the Springfieldians slowly transform to zombies, including Principal Skinner. And he later feels a bit peckish, calling Martin Prince into his office to bring that big juicy chess club brain with you. I wasn't sure whether or not to count Martin's death as he doesn't die on screen, and we don't see him as a zombie either, so he may have survived. Next up is Krusty, who is dragged into a box with Sideshow Mel. We also see zombie Jimbo Dolphin Kearney kick around the dismembered head of Skinner. And Edna is the last zombie Springfieldian we see. What a ghoul school. Alright, I'll leave out my crappy jokes.
Treehouse of Horror 4. In a parody of the Twilight Zone episode, Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, Bart has a vision of the wheel coming off his school bus and crashing into an oncoming truck, killing everyone on board. I counted 18 school children, and one auto man that would have died from the collision. All of this turned out to be just a dream, as Bart wakes up screaming in his bed, but his nightmare may come true, as Bart sees a gremlin on the side of the school bus. He tells Otto about the creature, but the bus driver mistakes poor Hans Moleman for the gremlin and runs him off the road. But he somehow manages to stop his car just before he smashes into the tree. Then his car suddenly blows up anyway. Which probably isn't as bad as getting hit in the groin with a football. Bart finally manages to throw the monster off the bus with a flare, where he is found by Ned, who showers the gremlin with love. And how does the creature repay this kindness? By slicing off his head and showing it to Bart. We're starting to learn the flaws of Ned's love thy neighbor mantra. The next segment is called Bart Simpson's Dracula. In this story, a bunch of characters are bitten and turned into bloodthirsty vampires. However, I'm not counting the vampires in the kill count, as they are the undead and can be killed later. Such as Mr. Burns, who, after being impaled in the crotch, is staked through the heart and turns to dust.
Treehouse of Horror 5. This episode doesn't waste much time in offering up his characters, as no more than a few seconds into the opening, Mo drops down from a tree hung from a rope. Patty and Selma are then burned at the stake, and Skinner is decapitated by a guillotine, where his severed head joins Edna, Wiggum, and Willie. The first segment in this episode is the shinning.
You mean shining?
Shh! You wanna get sued?
When Homer goes something something,
Go crazy?
Don't mind if I do!
he chases his family with an axe. Willie arrives to help but receives an axe in the back for his troubles. Next up, Time and Punishment. Homer builds a time-traveling toaster that takes him to prehistoric times. But he soon finds out that something as menial as killing a bug or even sneezing has more extreme repercussions. By altering the past, he creates a series of alternative universes, each more bizarre than the last. Although I'd love to live in a world where it rains donuts. And because I live in the UK, it would rain donuts every single frickin' day. In one of the futures, Willie warns Homer that he's not in his own world. But before he can say more, Maggie impales him with an axe again. Finally, there's Nightmare Cafeteria, one of the bloodiest segments so far. Overcrowded and underfunded, the teachers realise that they can kill two birds with one stone by butchering the students and serving them as lunch meat. The first victim on the menu is Jimbo Jones, who is made into some rather delicious burgers. And as always, ever the stereotype, Utter is cooked into frankfurts. And the Scotsman once again tries to save the children, but is met with another axe in the back. While evading the drooling teachers, Bart, Lisa and Milhouse are herded towards a giant blender, which they soon fall into. And this all turns out to be a dream, of course, but the death count still stays. Upon waking, Bart isn't free from his nightmare as gas leaks into his bedroom and turns the Simpsons skin inside out. However, this doesn't kill them, as they then proceed to perform a musical number on stage. And this is a pretty gruesome bit as Santa's little helper grabs onto Bart's pinky flesh muscles and drags him off stage to be eaten.
Treehouse of Horror 6. Not to be outdone by their previous opener, this episode starts out with the Simpson family hanging themselves in the living room. In Attack of the 50-Foot Eyesores, Homer steals the giant donut from Lard Lad. After being struck by lightning, he and the other giant advertising figures come to life. Angered, the walking mascot and his friends start to destroy the town. A neon cowboy begins his slaughter by crushing 7 people with a giant bottle. Hey, drinking kills, people. And a couple more are swallowed by Professor Peanut. When Lisa and Paul Anka perform a song to prevent people from paying attention to the mascots, they begin to die one by one. As they are technically alive as sentient creatures, we're counting their deaths. The next segment is Nightmare on Evergreen Terrace, an excellent parody of A Nightmare on Elm Street. Groundskeeper Willie is terrorizing the kids of Springfield in their dreams after being burned alive. Which reminds me. While Martin takes a victory lap after finishing his test early, Willie strangles the nerd to death with his tongue. A parody of the gross tongue scene in Nightmare. The Simpsons kids manage to stop the murderous groundkeeper by plugging his bagpipe hole with a pacifier, where he expands and explodes. He's technically already dead, but I'm counting it again. Geez, Willie can't catch a break in these specials.
Treehouse of Horror 7. Dying in the couch gag seems to be a recurring theme in The Simpsons, as the family die immediately upon seeing the Grim Reaper. And later in the episode, Bill Clinton and Bob Dole are projected into space by Homer. The death count is pretty low for this episode.
Treehouse of Horror 8. The episode starts out with a Fox censor going through a Simpsons script and deleting scenes. As he proudly talks about cutting the episode to a TVG, a hand with a knife appears out of the on-screen rating icon and stabs him in the back repeatedly. No doubt something the Simpsons creators have always wanted to do with their real censors. The segment, The Omega Man, has the biggest kill count so far. Insulted by Mayor Quimby's frog joke, France launches a bomb to Springfield where it obliterates the town's population. According to the Simpsons wiki page, the population of Springfield is estimated to be about 30,720 people. But I won't be counting this insane number, so instead I've painstakingly counted each skeleton I see. The things I do for you guys. So after combing through every scene, I counted 78 dead Springfieldians. Man, I really need to get a hobby. But anyway, it turns out that a handful of Springfieldians manage to survive the blast and confront Homer. They announce their murderous intentions and a chase ensues. During the getaway, Homer runs over Johnny and Edgar Winter, mistaking them for zombies. When Homer gets home, he is surprised to find that his family are miraculously alive. The mutant survivors burst into their house, but are blasted with shotguns. In Easy Bake Coven, Luann Van Houten, Agnes Skinner, and Elizabeth Hoover are all accused of the crime of witchcraft and are burned at the stake.
Treehouse of Horror 9. During the opening, Bart trips over the car and breaks his neck. Lisa's bike knocks into Bart's body and she crashes headfirst into a wall. Marge then runs into Homer, killing him instantly. In Hell to Pay, Homer receives a hair transplant from the recently executed Snake. His new, luscious hair possesses him and makes him go on a murder spree, and his first victim is Apu, who he stuffs into his own squishy machine. He then corkscrews Moe's beating heart out of his chest. However, the hair does get his comeuppance as it's shot several times, but I'm not counting a hair's death. And let's face it wouldn't even be a real kill count without the psychopathic duo Itchy and Scratchy. In The Terror of Tiny Toon, Bart and Lisa are transported into the TV. The kids witness the blue mouse slicing off the cat's head before scooping it out and making it into a cat-o'-lantern. Poochie, the rocking dog, is also run over by Itchy and Scratchy soon after. His second death after dying on the way back to his homeworld. The final segment in Treehouse 9 is Starship Poopers. It turns out that Maggie is the daughter of Kang. Who would have known? When the alien duo come to Earth, they take part in the Jerry Springer show. Kang disintegrates an audience member before wiping out the entire audience. Who needs Thanos? And the host himself is then strangled by Kang.
Treehouse of Horror 10. This episode's couch gag features callbacks to previous Treehouse of Horror episodes, in which members of the Simpson family take different forms. Lisa is disintegrated by Maggie's ray gun. In I Know What You Diddly Italy Did, Homer runs over Ned Flanders and believes they killed him. However, I won't be counting this death, as it turned out he didn't really die, because he was a werewolf. But I will count Homer's death at the end, as the werewolf Flanders mauls him viciously. It is possible that Homer turned into a werewolf as well, but judging from the sound of skin tearing and munching sounds, Ned most likely ate him. In Desperately Zeking Xena, comic book guy, also known as the Collector, falls into a vat of lucite. He manages to strike an awesome pose before he dies. And in the last segment, Life's a Glitch, Then You Die, Y2K strikes, causing all the appliances to malfunction. The world is due to blow up, but luckily Lisa, Marge, and Maggie hitch a ride to Mars, while Bart and Homer, unknowingly, hitch a ride to the sun. But when they realize they're trapped on board with celebrities such as Tanya Harding, Courtney Love, and Rosie O'Donnell, Homer and Bart eject themselves into space, where their heads expand and explode. Hey, at least they didn't have to listen to the full sing-along.
So that's it for part 1, well done for sticking around. If you have, you now know that the Simpsons creators have officially killed 228 Springfieldians. And that number is only going to skyrocket as we go on throughout the seasons, which only gets bloodier, gruesome, and far more disgusting. So subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out on that. I would also like to take a moment to say a big thank you to TheRealJims for helping me out on this video. He is the biggest Simpsons expert on YouTube, and he makes some truly fantastic content. So check out his channel and make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. His link is in the description below. So tell me viewers, what's your favourite Treehouse of Horror segment? And what are your favourite Simpsons kills? Let me know in the comments below. I would like to take this moment to say thank you to my gorgeous Flying Hellfish Patreons, James Whitehead, Timothy Balston, and who else but Zane. If you would also like to support the channel and get early access to videos and have a safe space to talk about Simpsons, then check out the link in the description below. Thanks for watching and smell you later.